Welcome back. Trade tensions escalating. The United States filing complaints against trading partners, including Canada, China, the European Union. This after lawsuits were filed against the U.S. through the World Trade Organization over the steel and aluminum tariffs. Joining us right now is Ian Bremmer, president of the Eurasia Group and G0 Media. Ian, great to see you this morning.
Hi, Maria. Good morning to you.
What progress is being made on the trade front? Where are you in this trade dispute, whether it be with China or our allies on aluminum and steel?
So far, as you say, we have dueling suits that have been put in place with the World Trade Organization. The good news is that for those that were saying that there's draft, an order going around from in the White House saying that Trump wants to withdraw the United States from the WTO, that was never feasible in terms of Congress, and it was never something that the Trump administration in any way had a consensus in moving towards. They're using the WTO as the allies are, as China is, and if this ends up getting resolved by the established multilateral trade organization over years, that's a much better place to be than unfettered escalation on trade.
Ian, it's Dagan McDowell. The Commerce Department under President Trump is studying this potential tariff on automobile imports into the United States, maybe 20%, maybe higher. They're looking at it right now. I believe there's a hearing even later this week. Do you think that just ultimately gets tabled? Because, again, they would try to argue that that auto imports are a risk to our national security potentially, which just seems ludicrous.
Yeah, but it seemed ludicrous to make that argument for steel and aluminum with, say, the Canadians, but they still made it. So, I mean, the fact is that you have a regulation and you've got people that are looking to find any way to press forward with a political posture that they want to pursue. Look, we know that when you talk to CEOs and business people in the U.S., it's not the Helsinki meeting between Trump and Putin that they're worried about. They're worried about Trump's stance on trade. And they certainly believe, and it's true, that if we press forward with these automotive tariffs, that you're going to see a significant hit to American workers, a significant hit to a lot of these American businesses.
By the way, Kevin Brady said that. He said that that's going to show up in the economic numbers later this year, John.
Well, you raised Helsinki, and I want to ask you about that. The president goes to Europe, and he calls the European allies foes, and then turns to Helsinki and has a pretty compatible interaction with Putin. How do you think America's European allies are looking at that Helsinki meeting, and how does that shape the way they're going to respond to our trade stance and the challenge that the president is putting in front of them on autos and all these other goods?
Well, look, I mean, to be clear, it was very strange when Trump referred to the EU as a foe. But then after that, he said China's also a foe, Russia's also a foe. So, look, the problem is that Trump clearly has a better set of relationships personally with authoritarian leaders around the world, like Erdogan, who he fist bumps at the NATO summit in front of everyone else, like Kim Jong-un, like Putin, than he does with a lot of the allies. So obviously the toxicity of the transatlantic relations, despite the fact that we have much closer relationship, is a problem. On the other side, you look at Putin. It's very clear that Trump wants a better relationship with Putin. It's also very clear he's not going to get one. I mean, there's a reason why Trump spent over 2 hours with Putin in private and not with his advisors. It's not because he was worried that the advisors were going to say something out of turn that was more hawkish. Those advisors don't say boo unless Trump turns to them and says, Mr. Pompeo, Mike, you want to come in and say something, right? The issue is they don't agree with him. They have a harder line policy on Russia, as the Republican Party does, and they would have leaked like crazy if they were in that room. U.S. sanctions against Russia are still in place, and they're harder line than they were under Obama. U.S. defense spending is up. Trump didn't say anything on recognition of Crimea. He didn't suspend NATO or U.S. military activities in the Baltics. He certainly didn't say we're going to take U.S. troops out of Syria. So as embarrassing as yesterday was from the perspective of the American president standing on the stage and providing moral equivalency with President Putin, we need to recognize that actually U.S. policy towards Russia under the Trump administration is likely to be harder line at the end of 2018 than it was today.
Do you think we dial
up really good
sanctions?
Points.
Do you think we dial up sanctions on the Russians? We did it earlier this year when previous allegations of interference in our elections came out. Do we take this latest Mueller allegations and add to the sanction list?
I think we do. I think that Congress will continue to move in that direction as we see evidence, intelligence evidence of the Russians engaged in the creation of more fake accounts and disinformation and cyber attacks around the midterm elections, certainly in terms of cyber attacks against American critical infrastructure, which is the single piece I was most concerned that Trump did not bring up publicly. It's the one that's the greatest danger, an area of confrontation between the two countries. Congress is not backing off from that. Trump's own advisors are not backing off from that unless they all resign. There's no question that's where most of the Republican Party across the board is heading this year. I think we will see tougher sanctions, another round that comes down from the Americans against Russia later this year, irrespective of whether that's what Trump wants or not.
That's what John Hazelnutt actually said earlier. Yeah, that's a really good point. Ian, thanks so much for joining us this morning, Ian.
My pleasure, guys.
Good to see you. Ian Bremmer there.